If at any point you say anything that you don't want to be seen or heard or whatever, we can always adjust it as needed.
Well,
The
so
safe,
far.
the safe word is cottage cheese.
Okay, great. Cottage cheese. Wait, that was a practice rhyme? I have not said anything I regret so far.
I remember, I think it was like, whatever it was, maybe 3 years ago, something. John and I were playing a lot downtown. We got to know a lot of the bands in Winston, and we played with a lot of the bands in Winston. And then there was this eruption of something that happened. There were these bands, there were these artists like Daniel Paget.
Mhm.
You know, he was an amazing thing to see. The Genuine was like at their peak of just attractiveness and just like they're what they were doing. And then there was
So attractive.
Victoria, and it was just like a jaw-droppingly good show that I was so mesmerized to see your show happening in Winston. I just like
Wow.
it's so, you're so good and so talented. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited that you live in the town that I do.
I feel the same way about you, Tyler. And also, I'm going to take that compliment and put it in my pocket for those days when I'm like, I'm never playing music again. You know, those days we all have. That is very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually trying to remember when it was. Not that I forgot, because it was unforgettable. But no, I now remember it was at the garage. And yeah, it was so good. And I mean, when Coastal Beast came out, I was like, that was the year I moved up here. And I was just like very proud of the hometown because of that album specifically. I was like, man, it is so good. Fantastic.
I might have asked you these questions before, but regardless, I thought, what better place to start than sort of a bio, sort of an intro into how you got to what you're doing, like how you got into music and all that stuff.
Yeah. So both of my parents are musicians. My dad plays piano and sings. My mom sings and is a music teacher. And so we I have two siblings. We all grew up singing together, playing music. I grew up playing music in church, that whole thing. And then by the time that I had gotten out of high school, I just thought there's nothing else I'm really good at. So I just kept doing it. And then when I'm originally from Ohio, so then when I moved to Winston-Salem, I just kind of fell into this group of young adults who loved playing music and really inspired me to kind of push the boundaries on what I was writing and helped me develop what Victoria is today.
Yeah. So were you writing songs when you were in Ohio as well?
Yeah, I started writing probably when I was like 15 or 16, although, I mean, nothing that great. But I was definitely writing my angsty teen songs, and then kind of shaped that a little bit the older I got. But I definitely always loved writing just as much as I loved playing or performing.
Mm.
You played piano first?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Piano is actually my only instrument. Although I will say that this year I've started taking guitar lessons. But I will not be playing in front of anyone anytime soon. So
you're also doing some of the front woman thing. I've also seen like your video with the Ram Cat. I think the last time I saw you perform live, you might have done more of that too. What's that been like to kind of step away from the instrument?
It has been so good.
Yeah.
I love to write and to play at home, but there's also just like only so far. First and foremost, I feel like I'm a songwriter and a vocalist, and it's easier for me to connect with the people that are there listening to us if I'm not blocked behind a keyboard. So it's been such a gift. My brother actually is in the band now, and he's taken over keys and synth and all of that. And he kind of directs the band in that way. And then I'm free to just do whatever I want. And it feels more like a party for me. And then they're all just backing me up.
Always wanted to be a front man. That'd be the best, the most fun. I mean, yeah, oh yeah, it is happening. But no, the freedom there. So do you mean like, does your brother, did he step in and he does a lot of the production of the songs and arrangements and stuff like that, or?
No, he definitely helps with live arrangements a lot. And he's so good with that. But as far as production goes, on the stuff that I'm working on right now, I am doing the bulk of the production, which has been really fun. Cool. And then I'm doing that with my husband, Ethan. And then also always working on something with Stephen Price, who did my first 2 albums. So, but as far as like production for the live sound, Noah definitely helps out with arrangements for sure.
Okay, so stepping back into the biography, so you're 15, Ohio, you end up in Winston, writing songs. How you said I guess they're kind of different, and I guess I know sort of what you mean. When I was 16 was probably when I started writing songs, and it's a very different experience than when I write songs now. I mean, what was it like when you first started doing it, and like how natural did it feel to you? Was it what made you want to do it in the first place?
Yeah. I think that I just really used songwriting as an avenue of processing emotion. So anytime I felt any certain way about anything, whether it be a friendship or wanting to get out of my hometown or a breakup or whatever, I used songwriting to process that before I would even like vocalize how I felt about anything, I guess. And I think that that's still primarily what I use songwriting for now too, is just as a way to process. I've just gotten a little bit better at it. Also, as a teenager, I just thought that I knew how life would go. And so there was an element to those songs that is just like, I mean, once you move past the teenage years and you're an adult, you're like, it's just not relatable to anyone who knows anything about life whatsoever. So I think that carrying the like, no one really has any answers type thing into songwriting has helped me create things that I actually like.
I love that. That is so true. Yeah, you start out and it's like, oh, what songwriting is you're a prophet. And then you realize, oh, that is
no.
Cringed at how true and relevant that is.
Yeah.
The prophet status.
Yeah, it is like there's just a chunk of your life where you're like, I am the voice that the world needs right now. Now I'm like, You know what? No one actually needs to hear anything that I have to say. And it's just cool that some people want to listen. So.
Yeah. I think when I was 16-ish, I wrote a song, I think called There's More to Life Than This. And it's just like 7 minutes of just that, of just like, listen up, world. Let me tell you what you're getting wrong. Let me tell you all the mistakes you're making.
Oh, yeah. A
lot of like, we are like this and we do these things. That was especially prominent in my like angsty metal core days. Oh. We are this way.
So would you say sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
no, you go.
Throw in one more. So I take it when you were younger, you were kind of doing a lot of the songwriting on your own. And I think you told me once you did some with some of your close friends too. The way
Yeah.
it's working now, are you doing, I guess when it comes to the lyric writing of the stuff that you're currently recording or performing, is that mostly coming from you?
Yeah, lyrics, well, I guess it depends on the project because the stuff that I'm like recording at home, doing with Ethan, I'm doing all of the lyrics, the chord progressions, like the arrangements for the most part with that. But I have been over the past year working on lots of other projects with different musicians. And in that case, most of the time what I'm bringing is lyrics and melody, sometimes even just lyrics. But that's like lyrics and melody. That's my sweet spot, I think, really where I'm thriving.
I think I wanted to ask or like get into like, I wonder how much of the process is like cathartic and just like, you know, spur of the moment. I also saw a video, I think on Instagram or something, when you were just like singing random like words, and it was very beautiful. And I wonder, is that how it works? Like what portion of the songwriting is like hard, like conscious thought about words and versus free association type things?
Let me think. You know what I've found is that there is like a really delicate balance for me personally between just going with the first thing that comes to mind. Typically, what will happen is I will throw out a string of words and melody, and it's like I need to rework that a little bit. But even if I'm not entirely sure what I'm saying at the time, if I can just rework it, tweak it to where it flows nicely, then I'm like, oh yeah, that is totally where I'm at right now. So I think that there's like, I would say the foundation of every song that I've written by myself that hasn't been like a collaboration with someone else, the foundation of it is me just like throwing out whatever and then going back and tweaking what I need to tweak. But typically for me, or at least the songs that are my favorite ones that I've written, those are the ones that I'm like not really trying to craft anything. I'm just kind of going with what my first instinct was within writing.
So when you do that, when you kind of get something to work from, some people, you know, they're very focused on writing stories. Some
Yeah.
people, it's more about writing noises, writing interesting words or different things. What are you trying to turn it into? Is it like is it a picture? Is it a story? Is it an emotion?
Yeah, I think like a little bit of a story and a lot of bit of an emotion. I like when I grew up, I was obsessed with Broadway musicals and I loved the storytelling aspect to like obviously the songs aren't just there as songs, like they have a purpose to convey what's actually happening in the storyline. And I think that I carry a lot of that into the songs that I write. But also there's like a part of it where if it just feels right for me when I'm singing it and when I'm playing it and when I'm performing it, like if I can write a song in a moment of like, you know, like, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart, but there's still beauty in the day to day, whatever. If I can write a song that conveys that feeling and I can sing that song again, and it's like that nostalgia back to that feeling, then I'm like, okay, yeah, I've done my job here. Yeah.
That's real good.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the world falling apart,
Yeah.
John, do you want to take us into our kind of next subject that's on the table?
Yeah. So COVID. So man, what a time. How has it changed you and the band, and how you've been able to like, how's it impacted the creative process? Has there been any, like, there are obvious negatives, but has there any been good points from it?
So I think that for me, my primary income isn't from Victoria, which before COVID, I felt like a failure because I was like, I'm not making my living off of Victoria. And then during COVID, it has actually been like the biggest help for me. And I've been lucky is what I'm trying to say from my friends who made their money off of gigs and touring and doing shows, and that just wasn't where I was. So I was able to continue to make my music without there being this pressure to make money from it throughout COVID. But also there's just the thing of like the political climate has been absolutely nuts. It feels like, we have seen the worst of everybody in the past year also. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And, everyone's afraid of not making it, of not making money, and of people that they love getting sick and dying. So that has really affected my creative process in the past year. Like some people, it's like when tragedy hits, that's when they're like ready to write and like ready to have something to say. And I think for me, I was just like, I got nothing. And so for the past year, really, I wrote and produced and put out one song at the beginning of COVID. And since then, I've just been able to kind of aid other people in their projects. And Victoria is, I've been writing more in the past few months, but my personal project was just kind of on the back burner for a while. But I do feel like I'm like kind of starting to walk into this time where I'm writing again and I feel excited about it. And it almost feels like the creative hiatus for me was like the wildfire that burns everything down. And then like now new growth is coming. I know that's like the cheesiest analogy, but that's kind of what it feels like right now. Like it feels like I've been writing a lot within the past couple of months and it doesn't feel out of a frantic place. It just feels out of like something that I actually want to be doing. So yeah, I mean, the past year has been hard for everyone. It's been hard for people who create. I have not made a whole lot, honestly. But yeah, just trucking along.
I mean, that's understandable. I think I went through a very similar pattern as that. I was on a different hiatus before all this happened. Then this happened, and I kind of took stock in a lot of the art that I had been working on and stuff I didn't feel connected to. This brought out, once I did finally start creating again after quarantine was kind of rolling and we were stuck at home, this whole new, this different voice came out for me writing songs. One where I wasn't so, I don't know, focused on whatever had been motivating what I was focused on prior. Did it change for you since you've been kind of getting back into your creativity? Have you seen your approach or your subject matter change or anything, or just like a different way of creating songs at all?
Yeah, I definitely have felt a shift and a change. I think even in the way of like how I was talking before about, as a teenager, you think you have all the answers and that your voice is like the voice that needs to be heard by the world. And I would love to be able to say that by the time I was 18, 19, 20, that I had grown out of that. But I think that, different things happen and you just learn that all over again. And even like within the past year, being a white female, I witnessing the pain of the world and realizing like, You know what? Like, a lot of the stuff that I had been putting stock in, and that I had even been being like, this is what people need to hear from me. This is what people need to hear from me. I'm starting to realize now, like, I'm actually coming from such a place of privilege that a lot of the stuff that I counted as important just isn't important right now. And that has been really humbling, and has also just kind of made me question, like, how much of an approach do I take to songwriting or to the art that I'm putting out, thinking like, and this is going to be the thing that saves someone. Like, this is going to be the thing that like shows someone the light, and like shows them that there's hope to keep on living. And like, even my angsty songs, like there's just this attitude of like, that we can take on as artists, I think, where it's like, and we are the voice that is the light for someone in the world, because that feels good. But now I think, especially after the past year, that I've just realized like people are dying every day. You know, we live in like, our government is, I mean, I'm not going to talk about that unless you want to, but like there's so much more important things that need to be done and said. So not saying that that's a reason for me to not create. It just makes me take myself so much less seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a good way, not in a hopeless way. Just like, it is not the end of the world if I'm just making songs and some people listen to them and other people don't. And it's been like humbling and freeing in a way, I think.
Tying that back to like the release of like, you know, it doesn't matter, there's so much bigger things, and that kind of being related back to the process of just like it being free form and stuff. I think earlier, you know, the teenage aspect or whatever, there's this sense of the songwriter as the prophet, or like there's a like, why are we up on stage? Why would anybody take the time to buy our album and listen to us? And there's a sense that the words and like what is being said are so important. So in some way you could say, well, this is an opportunity. Like, I have a platform where like I need to speak on these topics, and I like, this is something that, you know, if I'm not talking about these types of things in a way, then what is the point?
Yeah.
But it is I like the perspective that you take. I mean, is the right perspective. Like, it's, you know, it's like, it's just songwriting.
Yeah, exactly. And not to say that we don't use songwriting to say important things,
right?
Like that I'm just going to stand back and be like, well, I'm going to let everyone else do the work and not do any work. But just that healthy balance of realizing like, I am not anyone's savior. And the best that I can do is to try and contribute in some small way to the beauty that's in the world, and to also like in some way try to combat the that's in the world, or the stuff. Sorry. Are we filtering? Should we filter?
It's
There's
cottage
just
cheese.
Cottage cheese. Take it out. But no, I do think like learning the balance of an artist as like, I am going to do what I can. It is not hinging on me though. Like, it's a joint effort, and just the ego, you know, and like the older you get, just like letting go of the ego, I think it just makes for better art in the long run anyway, and makes you a better human being. So it's kind of a win-win in that aspect.
Yeah,
I
think we all know that something that's underneath the personality, the archetype, the motivation to be an artist is this like, you know, not as bad as it sounds, but it's almost like taking on a mentality of being like a center of the universe type thing sometime. Yeah. Or sort of like, I'm creating my perspective here. Like I'm sharing my perspective. And I think COVID forced a lot of people. I mean, I've talked to a lot of artists about this who just, that I think that whole facade got shattered for a lot of people because it was just so blatantly clear, and not just COVID, all the other stuff that's happened too. It became so clear that like we aren't, like people aren't the center of a universe. There's a big mess of stuff that's going on, and it's kind of more fragile than we like to think. It can kind of slip away from us a lot easier than we like to think, as we've seen. So, you know, I totally feel that. I think the way you talk about it is interesting. And then, I mean, but I think there is something to be said on the reverse side too. I mean, I think the art that I hope people are making right now is, well, I don't know how to say this exactly, but well, the last part of what you said, contributing to the beauty in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's super important right now to be doing, and I think it's really hard for a lot of people, but if it can be managed, I think it's a really worthwhile effort to try to be contributing to that.
Absolutely. Especially because like when you think back to the past year, like the majority of people, their saving grace has been art, and it's been music, it's been film, it's been all of these different expressions that just came from human beings that were trying to create things. And those have been the things that have carried us through this hellish year. So it is such a delicate balance of realizing the honor it is to be able to create and show people what you've made. And then also realizing like it is an honor and it's humbling because I'm not the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And it is a joint effort. So yeah, like finding like the way to settle in that, and that struggle is hard, but it's also so necessary. And I'm grateful to be in the place that I am with creating and songwriting right now, as opposed to last year, this time even. So.
And I really think you're great at it, and it's a benefit to the world for you to keep doing it, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
I benefit from it personally.
No,
gassing me up. Thank you.
For real.
How is the best way to stay engaged with you in being a part? Oh, wait. That's the last question.
Yeah. What?
I'm sorry. Yeah. I forgot.
We could, all right.
Velveeta.
All right, bring it back.
Velveeta.
Velveeta.
Velveeta. No one told me about Velveeta.
It's an internal thing. You don't need to know about Velveeta.
Okay.
We can't even tell you about Velveeta.
No, sorry. I confused my notes. This is what I was going to ask.
I've got my notes.
A lot of things been going on. You sound like you're in a place where you're creating things again. We're really interested in trying to understand what speaks to songwriters that maybe isn't strictly obvious, like a part of songwriting. Like what is something that you're interested in right now? What is really making you curious? What is really drawing your attention? What is helping you keep that artistic spark kind of sparking from day to day?
I think, and this has kind of been the theme for me in the past year too, it is 10 million times easier for me to like write, do like arrange my songs, do all of that on my own and just get it the way that I want it to be. And what I found in the past year is that it is harder, but way more worth it. And also kind of spurs me on to collaborate with other people. And that was something that I didn't do a lot of beforehand, but whether it be like, I've been writing with a different band that plays like, they're more like classical jazz, like kind of in that vein. And I've been writing and recording with them. And I've been writing or like helping produce projects for friends when I've been able to. And I think that being able to kind of emotionally lock arms with other people and help support their art has spurred me on forward to now start creating my own stuff. Also, also I want to add too is that I started in the past year learning things that I would have said before was a waste of time. Like how I said that I've been taking guitar lessons. That's something that I've wanted to do for years, but I was like, well, I'll never get as good at guitar as I am at anything else. And I won't be able to play it in front of people, and I won't be able to write on guitar. So like, what's the point of learning? But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to play guitar, and I'm going to be bad at something, and I'm going to love it. And that's what I've been doing. And it honestly, like, just being willing to learn new things, being willing to get input from other people, being willing to like serve someone else's art. I think that those have been the biggest things that they've been harder than just going it on my own. But the reward of like the creative juice that I get at the end, that speaks volumes in and of itself. Also, just the connection that you feel with other people and like being human it's just worth it. It makes life more enjoyable too. So those have been the things that have kind of helped spark the inspiration for me.
So, okay, another example of the way that I don't know, another example of of something we're curious about. Like I started a new job. I started doing this totally different thing I've never done before, and I watched it sort of like all this new imagery just sort of like seep into my songwriting and seep into like the themes in my songs, and just like all these new flavors that were kind of reflective of where I was. Have you had anything interesting pop up lately like that, from whatever, from books you're reading, from some kind of visual thing that has caught your imagination, or is that even a part of how your songwriting works?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. You
Or do
know
we want to keep
what?
it a mystery?
Oh wait, what were you
Or
saying?
do we want to keep it a mystery?
Oh, like the secret sauce. I borrowed the complete work of all of the Winnie the Pooh stories from my brother. And especially like during this was when the lockdown was like really, really heavy, like no one was going anywhere. And I would get up every morning before Ethan would wake up, and I would get a cup of coffee and just read one of those stories. So then that kind of started my fascination with children's books. And I've been just kind of, finding things online, getting things from the library, buying things from the bookstore, like of just like no care in the world children's books is like where it has been at for me. And it's kind of renewed my faith in humanity too, in a way. And then I will say one interesting thing is that in my adult life, I joined the United Methodist Church. And I have been in the past couple of months reading like their theology and polity books, like all of those things, which is just different from my background. And the way that they teach that spiritual people are to relate with other people has really inspired me. So those, I think, have been the two things that I've been like super curious about. So I guess even with reading the theology books, just realizing how people from other backgrounds view spirituality and our role that we're supposed to play in helping other people. So yeah.
I love the contrast or the juxtaposition of like the heavy religious material in the children's book. It's a
Yeah.
really
They are
interesting
very
thing,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Really cool.
I think that pretty much covered a lot of what we wanted to talk about. I've enjoyed this conversation quite a lot. I wish we could do these longer. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I guess we kind of covered everything. John, did we miss anything?
How about where do we find what you're doing next? Well, can people keep up with you and find what you're up to and all that stuff, all the medias and the socials
Yeah. Well,
and the TikToks?
okay. I literally just made a TikTok because literally everyone is doing it. I mean, y'all probably don't have, do you guys have a TikTok?
I have an anonymous account that's just like a user with a long string of numbers. I don't post anything, but I like to see what the algorithm gives me. And it has been a source of enjoyment and extreme frustration.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting.
I can empathize
platform.
with that statement. So Victoria is now on TikTok as of this week.
Do you guys do the dances? Like,
oh, I can't figure out how to work it. I literally need like a 14-year-old to come show me, like, what do I do? How do I? So anyway, if you want to see me figure out how to use TikTok, that everything's under Victoria Music. So my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok, and that's where we post things. Obviously, like if you follow us on Spotify or any streaming services, then they'll notify you when we're coming out with new music, which hopefully should be this year. We have some things that we've been working on and some studio dates slotted elsewhere as well. So I'm excited for what we're going to be able to create this year.
What is your like favorite way for people to stay in touch with you? Do you have like a social media you enjoy the most?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with all social media, but Instagram is probably where I'm most active, I would say. And it's easiest for me to like interact with the people who are following me. And then also, obviously I always forget to mention this, but YouTube, we have a YouTube channel where we post all our stuff. Also Victoria Music. So
well, guys, this was great. This is my favorite
so good
conversation I think ever so far.
Perfect.
Well, I'm ready to jump off if y'all are.
Yeah.
Tori, thank you again.
Thanks, guys. This was
thanks, Tori.
All
good
right.
to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Y'all have a good evening.
Everyone have a good night. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to read y'all the names of my current playlist right now. So I have Happy Muse, new album inspo, which, Snow Dance was from when I really wanted it to snow. Happy Holiday, not to be confused with Snow Dance. Moving Happy, not to be confused with Happy Muse. Self-Love, always a classic. Spooky, so that's when I'm in a spooky mood. Oh wait, there's another one. A Good Day, A Magical Musings, and then hold on, there's one more that I want to. Taco Dance.